Hello and welcome to my spoiler talk for Kingdom Hearts 3. This is the place where you can talk about anything and everything when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3. So that means spoiler alert is in effect. So if you do not want this game spoiled, which I promise you do not want this game spoiled for you, please go play the game, then come on back. And then if you just want to watch the spoilers, I mean, that's totally fine too. You can enjoy this video as well, but I implore you to try the game for yourself, experience this game first. But that's fine if you want to stay. And if you want to check out a spoiler-free version, I do have my review up on the channel currently, and I will have that in the video description below. So anything in the comments below, you can talk about anything. There's nothing that is off limits. Let's just get started right now. The final battle. I really liked how the final battles that was happening between Organizational 13 and the Keyblade wielders was a way to help resolve the issue, not the issues, but help resolve the story that each of those group of characters had to deal with. I think it was a smart way of handling it, in a way of taking on all the 13 organizational members while at the same time being able to, wrap up the story for those group of characters that they're fighting with, so that it got you to that final battle where you didn't feel like you had to face off against all 13 again. And it allowed me to be more interested in going to each one of those battles to see what is going to happen in regards to the characters and their story plot lines. Did it feel a little rushed? Absolutely. I think it did, but I think in the end, it's a good way to wrap up these stories if you're trying to do it in one single game. I think they did a great job in that aspect. Now, I want to say the most interesting one that in the final battle sequences that you ran into, I thought that the Terra, Aqua, and Ventus one was not only the most interesting, it was also the most surprising. I think the element of where you felt like it was really over for a minute, which obviously for no minute did I ever feel like in these battles like I was going to die at all, not at all whatsoever. So that it was really cool and amazing to see of how Terra, the tricky part is I don't even know what happened entirely of understanding. It seemed like the darkness inside him, he was able to control himself within it and then be able to fight back against his own body, which was a really interesting concept and a very cool concept, which overall just made me like that of how they resolved that in general. And everything kind of got resolved kind of nicely in regards to these segments, and that everyone finally got together. Finally, of every single character was able to come together. It was really great to see. Now, there are things in the ending that I do like, and there's things in the ending that I don't like. And we're going to break it down. We're going to start first with the good. So let's start with what I liked. And I'm going to tell you now, the list is longer for the things I liked than the things I didn't like. But, every game is not perfect, so we're going to break them both down. Now, one of them is the things I did like was the beginning chess match and how that connects with both the beginning and the end of the game. We never really get to explore the relationship between Master Ericus and Xehanort. And only through Birth by Sleep do you really get to see these characters interact with each other, but it's a very short amount of time. And you really don't see, well, how are these guys really friends? And to their credit, they did a great job in this game to, feel like they were lifelong friends through this chess match battle and through their conversations they were having while that was going on, both in the beginning and then when the end happened, that it was, you really believed Xehanort was actually trying to do good compared to where you saw it from the perspective throughout the entire series. You were just thinking Xehanort was here to do bad, but you really got to see the perspective of where they both believe in good, but their methods of getting to that good is different. And unfortunately, it's all dependent on the person's viewpoint, which is very interesting. And obviously it's a one trope that's been talked about and explored about throughout many stories and games and movies. But for a game series that really didn't make you see that that was his viewpoint. They did a really good job in this game to allow you to get that perspective, which I think helped in the end with fighting Master Xehanort, and then with the ending of him and Icarus going together and saying, you know, it's time to go. You tried. These people have proved you wrong, that this is not the way to take this route to save the world, that these people can protect the world. And worlds, I guess, because they're each different. But overall, I think it worked. And, you know, I think this was the best told overall arching story in a Kingdom Hearts game so far. I think with that chess match in both beginning and end, I think it worked out beautifully, and, you know, it tied up so greatly. I love that. Another thing I enjoyed was riding the Keyblades in the Keyblade Graveyard when you were fighting the big darkness. I think that was amazingly cool. I did not recognize that one of the characters were from Kingdom Hearts Key, which is it's the mobile game, but then it's also a cutscene storyline I believe it is 2.5 or it's 2.8 final chapter prologue, one of the two. But anyways, I liked that. I didn't notice that was one of those characters, but anyways, it was really cool riding the Keyblades and kind of taking out the darkness that way of, you know, it was just something fun, something different, and kind of just changed up the gameplay, which again, throughout this entire game, the gameplay and fighting mechanics are so fun and exciting, and they kept changing it up and making it fun for you. And I like that. And that it kept with this route in that same way. A quick shout out, I do have to say, this has nothing to do with the ending, but since we're talking about, 2.5 and 2.8 final chapter prologue stuff, you know, it was quite funny that they did 2.9 when you went to Hercules' world in the beginning, because I was utterly confused for a minute. And then after you got back from that world, it went to Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm like, I get the joke. Okay. I liked how they made fun of themselves a little bit, which was just a little snippet of fun, and I like that. It was just good. I like that. The other thing I also liked that happened in the Keyblade Graveyard in general was also the giant fight. You know, the fight where Sora, Donald, and Goofy are all taking on they're taking on all of these Heartless and Nobodies and Unversed, I believe is what the name is. I believe so. Could be wrong, but I think I'm right. Unversed, and those creatures that were taking place right before the big battle sequence with everybody and some other stuff that we'll talk about really soon. But you know, that was a fun fight. It was fun to like try all my moves all together. You know, riding the train. I somehow didn't get the train ride attraction fighting mechanic. I did not have that available to me when I was fighting in Hercules' world. So I got to experience that for the very first time in the Keyblade Graveyard, which was so much fun. I was so disappointed when I was watching and reading a bunch of people's talks about their enjoyments in the game and that they got to experience that in Hercules' world. And I'm like, how did I miss it? But somehow I did not get to experience it. And I think it was, in the end for me, I liked not experiencing it in the first one, because then I would have thought I had to experience it in all the worlds, and then, you know, I would have been not as surprised and happy when it happened to me in the Keyblade Graveyard. So I loved that. That was super cool, super fun, and super exciting. I also like the Master Young Sid shows up in the nick of time and shows what his true power really is. You know, he's been on the sidelines for such a long time, and you're just like, it's kind of like in Star Wars when you got Yoda. Yoda just sits in the chair, kind of talks about the Force, you know, all that kind of yabba jabba stuff. And, you know, when he finally, and, you know, I know people don't like episode 2. It's not my favorite either, but one of the best parts about that is when Yoda gets in the fight and you actually get to see Yoda fight. You actually get to see the true power of what the master has. And I think that was just a special moment. One, I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought in my brain, I was like, maybe he should get involved, but I'm surprised he's not getting involved. But I guess he's training us up. So that's what his, you know, purpose is really to help us in that aspect. But it was a genuine surprise when he showed up, and he was great. You know, splitting the Heartless like splitting the river. It also reminded me a bit of, if you ever watch Fantasia, which features Master Young Sid with Mickey when he gets into trouble when he's using the sorting hat, and all of a sudden it causes so much trouble, and he lifts his arms up in the air to kind of separate the water and stop everything from happening, because it's so chaotic of what Mickey has done. If you've never seen Fantasia, check that out. It is so good. But it just reminded me of that so much, and I think it was a great throwback to that, but then also showing, yeah, this guy's got some serious power to him. The final thing I really, really liked was the end credits. So it was after the credits. It was like the final scene, and we'll talk about the secret ending. That's later, but this is after the credits sequence, where it kind of hints at what's going to come forward for the Kingdom Hearts series. And it was like, I liked it when you finally figured out what Maleficent and Pete were looking for. It was, once we got to the world with the pirate ship, with the Pirates of the Caribbean world, and it was like, oh, that's maybe the black box they're looking for, and then it ended up not being it. I completely forgot when I was handling all this end stuff that, oh yeah, I haven't seen Maleficent and Pete in quite some time. So I have no idea what this black box they're looking for. And, it also hit me a moment of going, wow, that, the box that they were looking for was the one that took place in Kingdom Hearts Key, or in the Kingdom Hearts scenes that I talked about earlier with the character with all the Keyblades in the Keyblade Graveyard. When I was talking about it was either 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue or 2.5, but it was Kingdom Hearts Key, kind of the prequel to everything with the Masters and everything, and discovering that Zigbar is actually one of the apprentices, and that he is actually, and I might pronounce it wrong, I think it's Luxi or whatever that is, but he's just he was the one that was sent away. And I just completely forgot about that character when I was thinking about the Masters. I was like, oh yeah, there's one that the true Master sent one away and said, hey, take this black box with you. And I completely forgot he had the black box. And also it had that Keyblade, and I didn't think about that Keyblade either. So it was so refreshing and so surprising to see one Zigbar was taking over a new body. Zigbar was him just in a new body, and it was just so cool. And he summoned the other Masters and saying, hey, this is just beginning. We have a job to do. It just left so much in my brain of going, wow, what is going to take place next? And I think they need to maybe explore the prequel stuff more, if this is going to take a bigger element into the future franchise. I think there's just, unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts Key is a mobile game, and it takes a lot of hours to get through that game in general. And then the cutscenes of the storyline, they do a really good job, at least. They cover what you think you need to know, but I think you need to explore it a little bit more to understand the overall storyline of what's going on in the past. So that's what I really liked. Now, what I didn't like so much, there are two big things for me. One, the final world, and literally the one that's called the final world. It was really confusing. I did not understand what was going on, or I didn't understand why it was needed. That was another thing. I just did not understand why it was needed. It was really confusing. The character that was there that met you, I did not understand any context of anything with that. And I felt like collecting yourself was extremely pointless. Not only was it pointless to navigate around turning and flipping the map to collect yourself, it felt like it was really pointless. And it just was really hard to navigate sometimes, and it wasn't fun. It was probably, I would say, the most boring part of the game for me, and it was near the end, and I was like, why am I doing this? This is so dull, and it doesn't make any sense, and I just didn't feel motivated to keep going in that aspect. So that was just one of the things I did not like near the end. The other part, and this one's the one that bugs me the most, is everything that happened with Kairi in regards to having her being taken, being killed, and then Sora ends up in the end going, I'm going to go look for Kairi. I found this whole plot line in regards to what happens with Kyrie pointless and stupid, and to be honest. And maybe for me, I wanted the touchy, the heartwarming ending where they finally actually get to be together. They've been separated for many games, and it's like, we've gone through all these games and you're just going to keep separating the two characters. Come up with better story plot lines. Come on. Like, that just can't. It was just really frustrating for me because I was just like, you want to end it and then you want to continue. You don't want to keep dragging us along with Kyrie and Sora because it's gonna get dull, and it was starting to get dull, and to where people felt like it was gonna get to a point where it finally got to end, where they finally got to either find out they don't want to be truly together, like romantically, but finally where they can actually be together in longer than a room for 10 minutes. So it just was really frustrating, really dull. I didn't understand the choice in regards to why they did that. If they better explain it later, I can take my words back from today. But at this moment today, with experiencing everything I experienced with Kingdom Hearts so far, I find this ending extremely pointless and dull and stupid. I don't find it that fascinating at all. So now that's all my stuff with the ending. We'll talk about the secret ending later, though. So I want to talk about one of my favorite worlds. I want to just talk about two of them, both of them for two different reasons. One, I love Toy Story. I love the Toy Story world in general. I think it was great. I think it was fascinating. And, first off, it starts out with a scene like that. I think this was maybe the game that the director of Kingdom Hearts wanted to make when he was making Final Fantasy. Well, it was Versus 13, but turned into 15. But whatever that concept was, I liked it a lot. And I was like, if that's going to be the next Final Fantasy game, make me that game because I want to play it. The aesthetic was sweet. The characters looked awesome. And obviously, it took elements from what characters were in Final Fantasy 15. But, I was only a little bit saddened going, maybe this was the game of like Final Fantasy 13 versus 13. This was the game we were going to get. And if that was it, I was like, I did like Final Fantasy 15. I probably like it more than some of how other journalists and reviewers find it. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I don't, by any standard, it's not an amazing game. It's just a good game. It's enjoyable, and for a person that experienced all the elements, like I watched the anime, like I do my research, and so I've seen the movie too, so that helped with my context. But I liked it, but I was a little saddened when I saw this. I was like, I really would have loved to see what that game director would have done with Versus 13, or if it turned into 15. The other part I loved about Toy Story was the mechs. They were so much fun to play and so satisfying. The one move that I never got bored of was punching another mech, because it just flew backwards and then you could like shoot it with the blaster, and it was just great. I think the mech part was one of the best elements of Kingdom Hearts in general. I loved every minute of playing as a mech. I also enjoyed exploring the mall, was a lot of fun, or a toy store. I don't know what it really was, but I liked exploring the place. The place was really cool. I liked the verticality and how they handled the level design in regards to it too, and how rooms kind of connected and vents connected to somewhere else, but then you can open a window and all of a sudden that leads you to another section place. So I like all the elements and how they combined to make that world. I really, really did. And the other part I really also liked was the physics. In regards to when you go into the ball pit room, that was very cool. And how, I was looking around, I was kind of just exploring around, and all of a sudden I found a chest underneath. I was like, that's a brilliant place to hide a chest. And when I was doing even combat in there, it was so fun to see my attack moves affect the physics of how the balls are flying in the air when I'm fighting opponents. And I just, in general, that was just a highlight of the technicality of this game. It's really technically sound as a game, and the engine's good. I know they're using Unreal, which a lot of developers now are starting to just use Unreal Engine because it's easier. And I think this was a good highlight of how they used the engine, and they used it great. Now, the other world I really liked was the Pirates of the Caribbean world. And I liked it for certain reasons. I liked it because being on the pirate ship was so much fun. Ship combat's really usually, it was similar to Assassin's Creed 3's ship combat, but it's like a simpler version, and then you have more over the top moves. And there's nothing cooler than having your battleship launch into the air, and then you kind of aim it as it's going down and it splashes against your opponent. Also having a race against, I don't remember which exact organizational 13 member you raced against, but if you remember, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, racing him was super fun and exciting, and exploring the seas was also really fun. And I think it was the biggest world overall, and it really just showed the scale that Kingdom Hearts can be. And I think they did a good job scaling this game. Like I said in my non-spoiler review, I think the scale is great in this game. It's bigger than it's ever been before. And I don't want a game to be big just to be big, but it shows what kind of scale Kingdom Hearts could be in their worlds, and to dive deeper in them on a bigger level than you ever could before. Because I would love to see, in the end, I would love to see things like side missions in your favorite Disney worlds, where it affects characters within those worlds a little bit better, or even that it just takes place in the same area where you just get to soak up more of that Disney world that you're in. Because that's one of the big enduring qualities about this game, is about the Disney worlds connecting and playing in your favorite sandbox of your favorite Disney worlds. Let's go to my Keyblades. I want to talk about Keyblades because, it's called Kingdom Hearts. Keyblades is in Kingdom Hearts. So we're just going to talk about them because, I have my favorites. I have a loadout that was my final loadout, and I'll talk about them and why they were my favorites. And if let me know what your loadout was down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what kind of strategy you used with your Keyblades. So the first one I used was the Big Hero 6 Keyblade. First, it looks really cool. I'm a big fan of Japanese and technology, and it just looks really, really cool. The two, I like its evolution that it uses with the microbots. I think the special that comes with it is just really cool. I like it. It's very powerful, and it's very close. It can be very close ranged, which I really liked. I like to, as you'll see in my loadout, I have different strategies with my different Keyblades depending on the circumstance of what's going to happen around me, that I'm always ready for any kind of battle with my loadout that I used. So I like that it was close combat, it was very powerful, and the microbot utilization within the special of the Keyblade I think was very cool and very smart. My second one was the Sorcerer's Keyblade. I liked this because it was really good with powerful magics, and having a ranged attack with it was very nice to have that dual pistol and have those range attacks. I didn't use this Keyblade as much, but I always kept it in my loadout because I thought, if I need to get some distance on an opponent, and like I said, the difficulty was not that difficult when I was playing it this time around. But if I ever went back to play more Kingdom Hearts, I think I would be using it a lot more due to the fact that, having ranged attacks to keep some separation between myself and the opponent. The final one is just using a classic Kingdom Key. And the classic never got old. I like the special that comes with it. It's a little more aggressive. And also, I like having in the cutscene, just having my Kingdom Keyblade appear every time that I'm fighting. It looks iconic, and it just made me feel more like the Sora hero that I wanted to be. And I upgraded the Kingdom Key to be my most powerful Keyblade, and I did slowly upgrade the Sorcerer one, so at least my Sorcerer one and Hero 6 were at least the same. I think they were at about 8 in regards to their overall maximum level, and I got the Kingdom Key to a level 10. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is that there were no Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts 3, and that was quite disappointing for me to see. One of the big pushes about Kingdom Hearts was a combination between Disney and Final Fantasy. That was the big push about this game. Now, obviously, people were more excited about, Disney because it's just people. I mean, Disney is just more of an iconic brand than Final Fantasy. It spans beyond just the gaming. Disney is a family brand. It's a movie studio brand. It just expands far beyond its reaches. And so that's the thing that probably most intrigues people, which I understand why they kept that. But, Final Fantasy is still a big part of Square Enix. It was a big thing of Squaresoft when it first came out as a Squaresoft game. I think, unfortunately, this game is supposed to end a saga, and it was just surprising to see that there was no proper way to get them in this game, which, there are plenty of opportunities they could have brought, even for a scene. Like I said, at the end of the game, when they're doing those separate fight scenes, they're resolving these stories very quickly, and that's okay. They're trying to do this all in one game. So if you had them just appear in something like Twilight Town, maybe they're just on an adventure and they came to Twilight Town, or, maybe the darkness pushed them out of Twilight Town or something like that, or they're trying to look into more of Organizational 13. They could have combined with the locals that know Roxas and helped them with Ansem, helped them with Ansem the Wise when he was getting captured by one of the Xehanorts. So, there's so many ways that they could have involved Final Fantasy characters that I think it was a true wasted opportunity compared to, where I would think, you can't fit them in this game. But you can. And I just gave you a couple examples of how you could have, and it would have been, very minor, but at least you would have, helped appease the fans of their expectations, because I think one of the biggest things I've been seeing with talks about this game is that there are no Final Fantasy characters to be seen, and that's a big element of Kingdom Hearts. So whether they're gonna push away Final Fantasy characters for future Kingdom Hearts games, I hope that doesn't happen. Maybe they'll just bring them back for the next game. I hope they do. But it just opens up a little bit of a question for a can of worms in regards to what is the future of Final Fantasy within Kingdom Hearts? Because if it's showing like it is showing right now, it shows it doesn't have a bright future within the Kingdom Hearts series anymore. Mickey's signs was probably one, and we're going to go on a quick tangent. So Mickey's signs were really cool and really fun. Having the phone was really cool. I liked doing selfies by the Mickey signs instead of just taking a regular picture, but obviously sometimes it just doesn't work out. I also like the creativity that the Mickey signs provided, where, there was like one in Monsters Inc. where it was a splash of paint that made the Mickey sign, or it was like the outline of what was the blank space that wasn't touched by paint was the Mickey sign. Or like in Toy Story, when you have some balloons and if you kind of put yourself at the right angle, all of a sudden it makes a Mickey sign. Or if you're, I think in, I believe this one, I can't remember if I took this picture there or it was in Hercules. It was either in Tangled or Hercules. It was the way the mountains formed that I could take a picture and it looked like a Mickey symbol. I just loved every bit of that. I think that was a fun element of a collection and made your head twist a little bit. Or maybe that was in a Frozen world. It was one of the ones with mountains, which, there's a lot of them with mountains. So, I just loved the Mickey symbols. I think they were a lot of fun. And obviously, if you collect all of them, you get the secret ending, which we're going to talk about right now, where I don't know a ton, and I didn't do a bunch of research in regards to getting more info about the secret ending. If people have like their thoughts on them, as just a person that's seen what is before me, it was an interesting secret ending. It reminded me of the end of, Kingdom Hearts 1 with that ending with someone with two Keyblades, and that secret ending kind of gave me that kind of vibe. It had Riku and Sora ended up in, which I recognized one of the buildings. And so I did a little bit of research to see if this was a real live building, and it is. So both characters are in a place in Japan, a real place. They're not in the same exact town. They're in two different towns. And then somehow Zigbar talks about that. There's hints of more to come, but he's in the same country as them both. So it opened a couple questions, whether it's going to be taking place in the real world is one that's been thrown out there. And the other one, I think it was like this, The World Ends With You or something like that. One of those games takes place in Japan. So that might also be what is happening. But it's interesting. And it was like at the end of the before the secret ending, at the end of the game, Sora like kind of disappears when they're all on oh geez, now I forgot the island in the first game. I can't believe I forgot the name of it right now. But when they're on that island, Kyrie's back, but Sora disappears, and so is that where he goes? But Riku's on that same island at that same moment, so there's just too much left to interpretation. We have no idea what's going on. But let me know in the comments below what you think. That would be great to have a great conversation about that. Finally, this game is not perfect. Far from it. It's still a really good game, and it is the best Kingdom Hearts game of the series, like I've said in my non-spoiler review. I think it did a great job of wrapping everything up, and a lot of plots that happen in the storyline. I think it did a good job in doing that. And in the end, it left me satisfied, and I think it'll leave all Kingdom Hearts fans satisfied. And does it leave you satisfied? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments below as well. And I just want to quick say something that I did not cover all the characters. Usually in spoiler talks, I like to cover and highlight certain characters. In this case, I did not want to because there were just too many. And we'd be here for hours if I had to cover all the plot lines in Kingdom Hearts with all the characters that it touches. But if you have your thoughts on certain Kingdom Hearts characters, do let me know in the comments below and we'll have a conversation about that. So that is my spoiler talk for Kingdom Hearts 3. What did you think about everything that this game had to offer for you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this content, I have more on freeze frame rate. Check it out. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. And if you want to keep up with everything I release each and every week here on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mitch, and I'm signing off saying, see you soon.